Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I want to talk about the Neptune-Uranus conjunction in Capricorn today because we have so many transits right now in Capricorn, and if you have this placement in your natal chart, you play a really important role in the whole shift of the world, and I want to explain to you why. So if you have the Neptune-Uranus conjunction in your natal chart, welcome to the club, because I have the same placement and I didn't find a lot of information about it. And as Saturn and Pluto transit Capricorn right now, I feel like I've woken up to the realization what this placement is all about and why it's so important for us with this placement to really understand our purpose to the core. Because we are a part of a really significant shift in the world, and we have to understand that. But before we dive into what this placement means for the world today, I want to explain to you why this is such a rare scenario that Neptune and Uranus meet. I mean, they are both really slow moving planets, which means that it's a generational theme here. It's not just a personal thing. Obviously it impacts you on a personal level, but it's something that impacts a whole generation, because everyone who was born between 1988 and 1995 will have this Neptune-Uranus conjunction. I think it was exact in 1993. And to understand what it means, you have to understand what Uranus and Neptune represent in astrology, right? And Uranus is always a really liberating, inventory, visionary, revolutionizing planet. It's shaking things up. It's really electrifying. It also rules technology. But the core essence of Uranus is liberating us and seeing. It's also activating the mind, and it's seeing a new vision. That's definitely Uranus. And Neptune, on the other hand, is really closely linked to spirituality, spiritual concepts, but also our connection to the universe, to something greater than ourselves, and also universal love. So the combination of both of these planets is really interesting, right? Especially in the world right now, because that's exactly what we need. We need invention. We need a connection to universal love, to a higher consciousness. And that's what you can even observe in the world right now. And that's not a coincidence, right? So take these two placements and these two planets into Capricorn, the sign that rules the government, structures, and all of that, right? Isn't it interesting that these souls have this combination of Neptune, Uranus in the sign that is really representing the government and structures? I mean, that just suggests that they have the urge and insight. They feel like they don't belong in society as we know it. They don't belong in the structures that we have. They don't really buy into the laws that we have. And that's also partially the reason why so many of these people start their own business, are entrepreneurs and all of that, right? That's what we see right now. But it's not just the business side of things. It's also really understanding to the core that the business part has to change. It can't be just about money. We have to integrate that universal love, that connection to the divine, to something bigger and larger than ourselves even. And that's what we see. And this placement is really highly activated right now because Saturn and Pluto are transiting that. Right? So wherever you have Capricorn in your chart and you have Neptune and Uranus in Capricorn, naturally, Saturn and Pluto that transit right now through Capricorn will be activating these placements for you. And that's a real trigger of waking up to a higher consciousness, waking up to the bigger picture of life, of the world, of how this universe works, of all of that, and finally seeing with Neptune there that all of these structures that we have are just an illusion and distracting us from our core, our essence. And that's what we, with this placement, Neptune Uranus in Capricorn, really are here to cultivate. We have to spread this message across, because that will be the new paradigm for our new world. And that's why I feel really called to share that, because when I realized that, and I actually also read a caption about it, that I will definitely link below because it summarizes that so perfectly. It's just inside of me, it woke up this urge to create the change, to be part of the change. And it's not a personal thing, it's a generational thing again. But before we can change the world, we have to activate that in ourselves, right? We have to create an activated change inside of us first. And we have to understand that all the hardships and all of the detriment and all the depression and all the anxiety that came with Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, for us especially, that's just helping us to wake up, right? To wake up to ourselves, to find a connection to our purpose. Because if everything would be nice and shiny and unicorny and sparkly and fluffy, we wouldn't feel the need to explore spiritual concepts, to connect to astrology, to study more what our placements are all about. We only do that because we feel like we are in the middle of a crisis, and we feel like we can't trust the government, we can't trust the society, we can't trust structures, right? And because these Neptune and Uranus in our birth charts are so activated, we also see that the only way to build the real structure inside of us is to believe in our own individuality and to connect with something bigger than ourselves, to connect with spirituality, to connect with the divine, to connect with the universe. And that's what Neptune and Uranus also represent. And that will be the new structure of our society. But before it can be the structure of our society, it has to be the structure for us with these placements. Because then we, with this placement, can be the new leaders of the new world. And that's what we came here to do. Because you always have to take in consideration that your soul chose this placement for a reason. You chose to be alive during this time, you chose to have this placement, you chose to also have Pluto in Scorpio, for example, that also is really asking the deeper questions, revealing the truth about the government, about all of that. And the interesting thing about that is when you look at the planetary nodes, so we know the north and south node in our own birth chart, right, which is the moon's nodes in essence, but every planet has nodes. And the south node of Pluto, right, Pluto, the planet of transformation, shaking things up, is also in Capricorn right now for all of us. So realize that. That's where the change happens. That's why we have so much focus on that Capricorn area right now. We need that transformation. And I think that's really important to understand. We can't move forward like that. And it's, you know, thanks to the internet and all of that, we have the ability for the first time ever to create a business ourselves, to spread the message, to reach so many people. And we have to really, really leverage that. We have to. And we as Neptune Uranus conjunction souls, we are here to be the leaders of the new world. We are here to step into our power. We are here to understand so many lessons, and obviously it varies, and also depending on the house placement that you have Capricorn in, what kind of themes you want to really spread a message across, right? What kind of themes are highlighted and activated for you. And for many people, it's really understanding how we relate to our emotions, how we structure our emotions, and how we integrate them into our work and into everything that we do. Because when you think of the way we were raised, and when you think of how we related to emotions for the last century, literally for forever, emotions were never really articulated, they weren't expressed, they weren't welcomed. And that's why especially we have more and more feminine principles coming back, because we need to integrate our emotions as guiding systems for our life, because they literally determine, or they are signs from the universe in essence as well, and signs from our body. Like, emotions are just energy in motion, right? And we are energy. So we have to understand that they are not our enemy, and that when we suppress them, it doesn't serve us at all. And the new world that we all desire can only be created if we understand that we shouldn't suppress our emotions, we shouldn't make them our enemy. Instead, we should listen to them and see what they have to offer for us. And I want to express that so deeply because I know that Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, this transit can trigger so many quote-unquote negative emotions, but we only judge them as humans. They are not negative emotions. They are emotions that feel uncomfortable. That's why we judge them as negative. But they are uncomfortable because discomfort forces change. So all of the negative emotions, quote unquote, you feel are forcing you to change into a better direction. And that's what we have to see. But that also means that if we understand the discomfort and we still remain in our soul and we stay true to ourselves and we understand our direction and our purpose, which your birth chart can tell you, then you understand that when you survive this transit and you go through it and become out of it as a leader of the new world, that this will be your bliss. That's why you came here. And we have to realize that, because every time now, especially with the Saturn Pluto conjunction coming up in literally less than a week, the pressure that we feel is only here for us to see and listen and learn. Because we can't, there is no guarantee of how the world will look like after that Saturn Pluto conjunction, how the government will be structured, with Uranus coming direct in Taurus, which potentially could, trigger financial surprises. I want to say it like that. We don't know what will happen, but what you know is you can always come back to your soul, and you can always come back to your intuition, your guiding system, your energy in motion, emotions, right? Come back to that and see how the universe is actually talking to you all the time. With that Uranus and Neptune conjunction, you are so sensitive and so intuitive, and so you're just prone to be psychic, right? You're prone to that. You receive downloads from the universe because you're almost like I don't want to say used, but you came here as a channel for the new world. And you have to understand that everything that you feel inside of you, that's not by accident. That's here to guide all of us. And I, want to serve you in the best way possible to make that really clear to you by helping you to connect to your birth chart, for example, because all of these tools, human design, but also astrology, your birth chart, they can help you understand the themes that you work through and the themes of your life and where you grow and where you evolve and where you can be of service to the collective. Because in essence, we all are of service to the collective. First of all, we have to serve ourselves and our own soul, and then that will ignite the change that we want to see in the world. It doesn't help you and it doesn't help the world so much, and I know that will trigger people, by focusing on helping the world in any way. Sometimes that can be really distracting to our own soul growth and our own path. So instead of, just imagine if everyone would focus on their own soul growth and the lessons to learn and how they can come back to their soul and universal love and connect to the universe, naturally we had a lot less crisis in this world, right? Because there wouldn't be power struggles. The world would naturally be more in harmony and in balance. And we have to really see that, right? Doesn't mean that we shouldn't help any humanitarian causes or spark change. We can do that through our work, but our work and our own transformation is the inspiration for our own work and our own contribution, our legacy in the world. Especially, again, as Neptune-Pluto conjunction souls, that's what we came here to do. We came to create a change, and I want you to realize that, and I want you to also take responsibility for that, because that's when you take the ego out of the way and all of the self-doubts and things and stories in your head that want you to stay in your comfort zone and that hold you back. They are not obstacles anymore. Instead, they are actually potential for growth, because when you work through them, you will naturally be so proud of yourself, and you will naturally want to communicate that and share that with the world so someone else can master that obstacle as well. And that's really what we have to understand. So every obstacle that presents itself right now, especially with Saturn and Pluto transiting this area in your life, see that as part of your destiny and part of your purpose. And that's in essence what I want you to be aware of, because that's when you are encouraged to face these challenges and see that that's actually your purpose speaking to you, screaming to you, presenting itself to you. And I do everything that I can possibly do to help you see that and to guide you into the light, into your magic. That's my passion in this life, because it's also my responsibility as a Neptune-Pluto conjunction soul, right? But also as a projector, being a guide. And I love that. Like, I live and breathe that. So if you want guidance, definitely you can reach out to me to understand your birth chart and to understand the dynamics of your Neptune and Uranus in the chart, if it makes any aspects or whatever. There's probably a bigger story to that, and I would love to give you the guidance that I can offer, because I want you to be supported, and there's so much support out there. And I also want you to understand that, first of all, you have a responsibility, but also that you are really, really supported. You're not alone in this transit. It's something that affects the whole world, right? But it also creates a new world, a new change, a new paradigm, and I'm so excited to see how the world will change and how we can create the change in the world, the change that we need and the change that we really, really desire, probably ever since we were born. So, it's exciting times ahead, and I think 2020 is not for nothing the year where we have to step into our purpose, where we have to wake up. We have 6 eclipses triggering that. We have the Saturn Pluto conjunction triggering that. Saturn moving into Aquarius, like so many things, exciting things. And astrology can give you the GPS and the guidance that you need to be seen, first of all, to see yourself, first of all. And then you can share your gift with the world. And that's what I wish for you and what I would love to see from you. So again, if you need any guidance, definitely reach out to me, or you can also follow me on Instagram, which is Magic Kathi Official. Subscribe to the channel if you want more insights into astrology and the transits and everything that's going on in the world. And if you want to learn more about astrology, also visit my podcast, which is the Magic Kathi Show as well. I would love to see you very soon. And if you have any questions to your Neptune-Uranus conjunction, leave them down in the comments. Let me know how you experienced this transit, or if you are still in the midst of this transit, and if you have any other placements in Capricorn, because obviously then this topic will be even more highlighted for you. So thank you so much for listening and for being part of the change. I hope you step in your magic.